If success can be measured in numbers, then I have everything. I had a beautiful wife, a successful career. I hit gold when the company I owned was bought out by a major corporation. In 1996, I was a CEO and Entrepreneur of the Year. My company had over $1 billion in revenue, and I was personally worth $6 million. I had a house, several boats, my children were well-mannered, I owned my own airplane. My wife was beautiful beyond imagination, and my two gorgeous kids were intelligent and happy. Life could not have been any better. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I graduated from public school, I joined the Navy and married young and had 3 children. 2 years after my first marriage fell apart, I married a beautiful 23-year-old. I don't know why she fell for me, because I was 36. We lived in the same apartment complex. She decided to move into my apartment, and we started the journey to success. But life is not without casualties, challenges. A year after my oldest child was killed in a car accident, my wife was diagnosed with cancer. She was only 37 at the time and wasn't likely to make it. Since that day, I've prepared myself against anything that could possibly be worse. But nothing would have prepared me for what was to come. My life changed Christmas Day, 1996. When I found my daughter missing, we found a ransom note. So I told my wife to call the police, but she panicked and called the pastor and friends. Although we told the police all that we knew, it didn't help. The police waited, and we waited, and we waited for the phone to ring, the ransom note to be answered. But after a while, the detective suggested that a friend and I take a look around the house and see if there was anything unusual, to check it from top to bottom. Well, I started from the basement. Since we were on the first floor, it made sense. I can't describe how I felt when I found my daughter. I ripped off the tape that was covering her mouth. I didn't know she was dead already.
Do you know you destroyed evidence and contaminated the crime scene?
That would be the last thing on my mind. I was only thinking of my beautiful daughter.
The detective asked you to search from top to bottom. Why did you start from the basement, as if you knew where she was?
We were on the first floor, like I said, and the basement seemed like the obvious choice.
But you went directly to her body, as if you knew where to look for.
What else should I do when I find my daughter lying on the ground? Go to her. The question is, why could the police not find her? Why did they fail to see her?
Police thought she was kidnapped.
The police thought she was kidnapped. Is that an excuse not to search the rest of the house? Not to look for other evidence?
Police may have overlooked a few things, but that does not mean you are innocent. Maybe you moved her and ripped the tape off to destroy evidence.
And if I were the one responsible, I would have plenty of time to destroy the evidence. I did not need to leave her in plain sight. I did not need to destroy evidence with friends looking on, police in the house. What are the chances that a team expert would miss a child lying on the floor in plain sight? It'd be very ignorant of me to destroy evidence like that, don't you think?
Detective said you were calm before and after finding your daughter's body.
Anyone who knew me knows I have a calm demeanor. Is that a crime? I did not go crazy when I found out my daughter was killed in a car accident. But that doesn't mean I killed. I would have done anything. I would have done anything I could to protect my children. Why would I destroy any evidence that put me into possible crime? Why can't we find the killers? Doesn't mean that because we can't find all that I go crazy, start to cry.
A detective heard about your travel plan right when your daughter was supposedly kidnapped. If you're not guilty, why wrong?
Are you crazy? My daughter just got kidnapped. My wife is having a nervous breakdown, and I didn't want my 9-year-old son to be part of that drama. So I sent him to the neighbors where he would be safe.
But you did not allow police to interrogate him.
I allowed the police to talk to everyone after we called 911. My son was later sent to a friend's house, like I said. We didn't want him to worry about his sister. We didn't want him to be exposed to all this drama. Police talked to all of us. When they asked to interrogate my son again, I didn't hesitate, but I did ask that the child psychologist be present. Remember, he had just lost his sister.
Your son looked guilty as he did not seem to feel sad for losing his sister.
He was 9. What do you expect of a 9-year-old? We loved him. We told him that his sister had went to heaven. And what's a 9-year-old to believe? Something to be sad about?
There was a report about feces under the Christmas tree. The report seems to indicate that your son left it there as he left feces on your daughter's bed before. That proved how crazy he was and how much he hated his sister.
Do you know that my son had not been back in the house since the day of the crime? He was at the neighbor's, but he was with us at the Christmas party, and which means he would have had to get up at the middle of the night, take a poop near the Christmas tree, kill the sister, drag her down into the basement, and crush her skull, and then get back into bed without ever waking any of us. Do you think that's possible? If there are feces under the Christmas tree, why, well, let's assume it was left by the police dog. Why didn't the police test it for DNA? Why didn't they find out who left the feces there?
But how can you explain the pineapple found in your daughter's digestion system?
Do you know food can exist in the colon for over 40 hours? My wife didn't recall my daughter eating pineapple that evening, but it does not mean that my son did not share pineapple with her. It doesn't mean that she didn't eat pineapple the day before or after dinner the other day. There was pineapple theories that made no sense at all, so that pineapple evidence is irrelevant because it does not help establish when she ate the pineapple.
But there's no footprint in the snow. night. That meant the killer was someone in your house.
There were no footprints in the snow leading to the front door, but there was no snow in the backyard to leave footprints in. So anyone could have entered the back way. There was no sign of a break-in. Many people had keys. Maybe they made duplicate keys. There was a broken window in the basement, and because I broke it because I forgot my key. Anyone working in the house also knows that the window had been broken for quite a while. I'm sorry I didn't fix it, but I thought I was living in a very safe neighborhood.
But the window was too small to get through.
I broke the window because I forgot my house key. How do you think I got through the window if it was too small?
Whether you killed your daughter or not, we can't forgive you. You sent her to those beauty pageants. It's like you roll out the welcome mat for a child pedophile.
That's very unfair of you to say, pedophile. I think beauty pageants bring out the beauty in a young lady and the grace of a young lady. That was why I fell in love with my wife. And if it's a crime to adore your daughter and help build up her competitive spirits, then maybe every father should be in jail. And if beauty pageants were not for children or for pedophiles, then why do we have Teen USA? Huh? Miss Teen USA. You only need to be 14 to enter that pageant.
Police says the ransom note were from your notepad.
Police said it looked like the paper from my notepad. I gave both mine and my wife notepads before they even asked for it. Do you know anyone that buys just one notepad? I bought 12 notepads and I didn't think of keeping track of all 12 notepads. And you know I had a Christmas party December 23rd, and 34 people were at my place. Anyone in my house could have grabbed a scratch piece of notepad, and we have a housekeeper. Well, she admitted to the police that the notepad was taken from the house. The housekeeper's husband was by our house. He was a handyman. He also had access. Police did not say my wife did it. They said my wife's handwriting was recognizable and could not be omitted.
People said that your daughter had been sexually abused for years.
My daughter has problem with bedwetting and soiling. In the 3 years, she had seen 33 doctors. Our doctors testified again and again that she hadn't seen any signs of sexual abuse.
Many people believe that your son killed your daughter accidentally and you and your wife covered it up.
This is speculation of the worst kind. Police once thought I did it because my wife and my son couldn't have the strength to crush a skull. And then someone showed me how a 10-year-old does have enough strength to crush a skull. But that doesn't mean that the 10-year-old was the killer, or that I was the killer, or my wife was the killer. I was in the military and I was an officer and a CEO for many years. I think I would have the common sense not to take that risk and pay the price for covering up a crime like that. I would know a 9-year-old boy would not be in any trouble if he accidentally caused the death of his sister. If I wish to lie, I can just tell the police that he did eat some pineapple after the Christmas party. That was the main evidence against us. Then we could maybe be off the hook. But we told the truth, nothing but the truth. Do you know that scientists said that food can stay in the digestive system for up to 40 hours? The pineapple in her system was not evidence. It was tabloid trash. We are innocent.
But how could anyone knew about your big bonus with the exact amount, which is what the ransom note demanded?
Sometimes you don't know how ignorant you are until it is too late. I realized after my daughter's murder, with all the lights focused on us, that we were an open book. Because our home was on the city's Christmas tour list. There are thousands of people in our house during that season. And we also had, my wife made a video tour of our house, showing every room with my two children. Many of my guests came to our Christmas dinner. They knew about my work and may have heard about my bonus. There was a story about my company, and the person who interviewed me, he was also a suspect, or at least considered a suspect.
But if there are other suspects, why didn't we hear about them?
Because we are the better story. The beautiful mom killed her beautiful daughter. Or the rich dad molested and murdered his beautiful little angel. We're talking about 21-year-old crime. If there is no justice, why wouldn't it be brought to light?
So who else could have done it?
Well, almost everyone else was named, almost everyone else named as a suspect filed suits. So I am just a John Doe. And everyone I mentioned could just be a figment of my imagination. Okay. The first one could be Santa. We had a friend who played Santa at our Christmas party. His son served a 2.5 year sentence for prison for conspiracy and aggravated robbery and kidnapping. The son had no alibi on the night of the murder, but however, the DNA cleared Santa and his son as the DNA cleared me, my wife, and my son. But most people think we did it. Another promising suspect is a convicted sex offender who had been seen hanging around the backyard and the alleyway the night of the murder. He was in jail for raping a 7-year-old girl, I believe. His friend said that he called that friend the day after the daughter's murder, saying he had done something terrible to a little girl. A year later, he attended my daughter's memorial service. 4 years later, 2 weeks before Christmas, he was arrested for trespass. The policeman who made the arrest found a stun gun, a photo of my daughter, and an ode to her in his backpack. And there's another man who could have done it. He was found dead 2 months after my daughter's murder. He was ruled to have shot himself the day after the district attorney announced that they were closing in on my daughter's killer. He had a pair of high-tech boots, which seemed to be the exact match of the footprint found in the crime scene. He had a stun gun, which was a match, the mark on my daughter's body. He had a baseball cap with the letters SBTC on it, which was also on the ransom note. And police found a videotape of the news story about unsolved kidnap and murder of a 6-year-old girl. But again, it was a dead end when he died. Did his partner in crime kill him? We probably will never know. Remember, I told you that I was interviewed by a freelance journalist. his girlfriend called the police and said she had stormed out of the house on Christmas night, came back the following morning with muddy clothes. He became furious when he saw the news reports of my daughter's death on TV, and he owned a sweatshirt and it had the letters of SBTC. He was even a friend of the suspect, Santa. However, police cleared him when his name came up in my book and the possible link to the case. He sued me. Do you know what happened after I lost my little girl? I had to quit my job and move away. For that, I lost the wealth I had worked so hard for all those years. My one-time $6.4 million in equity disappeared quickly, which went to mostly the attorneys and their fees. My friends were gone, at least the ones I thought, when the police told everyone that I thought they did it. My wife died of cancer when I was 49. Poor girl. She was fighting a losing battle. When she smiled on camera, people said she was heartless. When she cried, they said she was acting. When she called 911, the operator claimed that something was wrong. Listen to the tape. What was wrong? She died the day when my daughter died. But she was not buried until she fought and lost that fight with cancer. I did everything I could to protect my family, my son, and his privacy. He had a normal life, till someone decided he could spice the stories up, make them juicy again. After my wife's death, there was no one else better to play the unusual suspect, so they targeted him. People claim to have found the real killer when he smiled talking about his sister's death. What do you expect a 30-year-old man to do when he talked about a 20-year-old murder that he can hardly remember? Like I told you, I was known to be calm under any circumstance. When I grieve in private. I used to hide in my attic crying when I thought about my daughter and her murder, and how she died. And now I can't grieve in private. I was guilty for not setting the alarm. I was guilty for not fixing a broken window. I regret supporting my daughter and getting her involved in beauty pageants. I wonder what would have become of her if she would have been allowed to grow up like a normal child. But I had nothing to do with her murder. Nothing at all.